God is an awesome God. Even when she shows up as goddess. Even when she says, I'm going to be a goddess today. Yes. So I just wanted to let you know where Jemiah is. Because a few of you have asked me, where's Jemiah? Jemiah is up in Panama City headlining a show because it is still Pride Month. So he's up there headlining a show today, and we send him all of our love because we know he's watching before he does his big show. We love you, Jemiah. Yes. And I also want to say, today's our Solar Plexus Day, but Monday night is when we activated that inner fire. And I want to give a special thank you right now to our Apache sister, Rain, who did an Apache fire dance for us. Stand up. Let everybody give you some love. All of our voices. It was a beautiful, magical service on Monday. If you weren't able to come out to the summer solstice, I feel bad for you. Because it was so beautiful. And I know a lot of people stayed home because they thought it was raining. But no, it did not. We got together and we sent those rain clouds south. And then just as Rain finished her Apache fire dance, the clouds broke and a rainbow appeared. And then as we were packing up to leave, Jay said, after I got the last piece of electronic equipment in my car, the sky opened up and it poured. But the rain held for us to have that beautiful, wonderful summer solstice service. Yes. So now it's Sunday. Wisdom is the word for today. Wisdom, justice, judgment. And that seems appropriate for this week, doesn't it? Even though I told you a while ago, I chose that subject 3 months ago for us to talk today about wisdom. It's no accident. It's no accident that wisdom is the subject today, and it is no accident that you are here today. There are no accidents. It is by divine appointment that you are here on this day and that we honor and talk about wisdom and be present with wisdom in our life. In the face of turmoil in our country, we all want and need our leaders to come to the table in wisdom, led by understanding, respect, compassion, and love. We call upon our leaders to step up to lead us to the best outcome that provides human rights for all, with respect and equality for all. For it is a basic human right what we choose to do with our body. It is a basic human right what we choose to do in our life, and it is a basic human right we choose our spiritual path. So I call upon our leaders to provide us with human rights for all, with respect and equality. Every person of every race, every person of every sexual orientation, every person of every gender, every person of every age, every person of every economic status, and every person of every creed. Give us that basic human rights where we are all equal and treated with respect. In Unity, we recognize and honor 12 spiritual powers. Here at Unity of Gulfport, I am honoring those 12 spiritual powers by selecting a power for the final Sunday of each month. So here we are for the month of June, and today's power is wisdom. Wisdom, justice, judgment. The dictionary tells us that wisdom is the ability to apply relevant knowledge in an insightful way, especially to different situations from that in which the knowledge was gained. That is wisdom, according to the dictionary. I say that wisdom is a metaphysical revelation of source and is a divine gift. That wisdom is within each of us. It is our choice to develop that wisdom and allow it to flow from us as the light it is. That is wisdom. In his book, The 12 Powers of Man, Charles Fillmore ponders the question, which is greater, wisdom or love? Which is greater, wisdom or love? His conclusion, we're going to share that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about wisdom. When God raised Solomon up as king and asked, "What gift shall be yours? I am making you the king of the land. What gift shall be yours?" Solomon chose wisdom above riches and honor. Solomon became a great judge, using the gift of a rare intuition and discernment in arriving at his judgments. I'm sure many of us have heard the story of the two mothers that came to Solomon with an infant, both claiming to be the mother. And Solomon listened to both of them plead their case for why they were the mother of this infant. And Solomon called for his sword and said, "Bring me my sword. I will cut this child in half and give you each half." And the true mother said, "No, no, no. Give it to her. Give the child to her." And Solomon knew who the true mother was and gave the child to the true mother. In his life, Solomon was rewarded with great riches and great honor, even though he chose the gift of wisdom. He became the richest king, the richest leader, the most honored around the world. And those gifts are yours today as a divine child of God. So be mindful in your spiritual growth. You develop and apply wisdom to your everyday life. Be careful, lest you become overly judgmental when your wisdom clashes with the wisdom someone else chooses, because we have the choice. In the Bible, in the book of Matthew, Jesus the Christ warned, "Judge not, that you be not judged, for with the judgment you pronounced, you will be judged." So if we can all remember that every day in our life, the judgment we mete out is the judgment we are going to receive. Well, I believe that goes right along with the law of attraction, doesn't it? We manifest to us what we give out. What we give out is what we're going to receive back. We are taught from the time we are a child, and therefore it is a learned behavior for most humans, that we trust more in our mind than in our heart. We trust more in our mind than in our heart, especially when it's an important decision. When it's an important decision or a big challenge we're facing, we trust our mind more than we trust our heart. I share with you now, it's the harmony and balance of knowledge and of intuition that becomes true wisdom. The balance of both knowledge and intuition, that is wisdom. Profound understanding, intuition, judgment, wisdom, discernment, our knowing is innate within each of us. How can I come to that conclusion? Come on now, did I hear you say how? How did I come to that conclusion? Because the mind of God, that is source, is within us. It's within each of us. The heart of God is within us. So we can easily find that balance if we allow it to be. For we have the mind of God and we have the heart of God. You, me, that person sitting next to you, on both sides, that person in front of you, that person behind you. Look into the eyes of the people around you and see God. Go ahead, look, and then go ahead and say hello. See God in the person next to you, and you will see God within yourself. For God is within each of us, and God is an awesome God. When we listen, when we become still, when we pose a question or face a challenge, when we stop, when we take a breath, be still and know that is wisdom. That knowing that is both mind and heart in balance and in harmony. That knowing within that still small space within your heart center, that is wisdom. Right there in your solar plexus, just below your heart. You are safe to trust in that, even in your most important decisions. Be still and trust what you know. Trust that truth that is within you. Trust that is the wisdom to follow. It is the wisdom of source, the wisdom that is within you. The ancients in most all cultures know this to be true. Leaders, shamans, priests, chiefs, rabbis, medicine men, medicine women, pharaohs, kings, and queens of almost all cultures all around the world wore breastplates. They held them to be sacred. They put them in the Ark of the Covenant. Why? They protected the heart center. They protected this area. Why? They adorned them with precious stones and precious metals that represent the 12 great powers or the 7 great truths. Why? Why did they do that? They did that for they knew with a knowing that was innate, that spanned space and time, reaching all over the globe at the same time. They all knew that truth, even though they didn't have a phone to pick up and say, hey, you need to do this. Hey, we've got this breastplate, it's slamming. You need to make one. They didn't have that. It's a knowing that is innate. It's inborn. It's natural. It's our essential nature. It is a wisdom carried forth from before we were in this physical body, when we were in the metaphysical realm and we were one with Source, one with the mind and the heart of God. They knew then, and we know now, that God's wisdom is right here within our chest. It is worthy of protection. It is worthy of honor. And as your spiritual leader, I can only give to you from my own personal experience. I have to fill up my chalice and then pour out, just like Omaka just did. He filled up his chalice with his own lived experience of finding peace and then poured that back out to you in sharing. And no one can give to you or to anyone else anything more than that. Anything more than their own experience. I shine my light onto the path for you, and you shine your light onto the path for another, and therefore we become difference makers in this world. I have a little story for you that I'm going to share. When I was a young mother, Jared was 5 years old. That means Heath was 1. So I had a baby and a toddler full of life. Even though he was 5 and everybody thought he was 8 or 9, because he's so tall. He's going to be here in a couple of weeks and y'all get to meet him and see him. He's 6'6" now. But this beautiful boy that I had, when I was pregnant with him, knowing my Cherokee background, and I married a man of German descent who had dark hair and green eyes, and I had dark hair and brown eyes, because really my hair's dark. I just color it. It was in my heart that I have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby boy. And I knew the chances were not great because my papa was, on my mom's side, was blue-eyed, and my grandmother on my dad's side was blue-eyed. But I knew I had genetics in science class, in biology. I knew it was a possibility. And Jeff's mother was blue-eyed. So I knew we both could carry that blue recessive gene. I wanted that blue-eyed, blonde-haired baby boy, and I had him. And then, when he was 5, he was so rambunctious and full of energy. He was always running here and there. But I also had a baby. And my husband at the time, he was still in the Marine Corps, not present in our life. So I wasn't a single mom, but I was a single mom. And so I told him no. I said no to something he wanted or to do. I don't remember what that was, but I had told him no. He went up in his bedroom and slammed the door, like a teenager, and he's 5. Looks 9, but hey, acting 9. So he goes into his room, comes back out. I don't know if you all have ever seen the movie An American Tail and Fievel, the little mouse Fievel. So he had a Fievel backpack. His little backpack with Fievel and had this little tail. So he had on his Fievel backpack. I said, "What are you doing, son?" He said, "I'm running away from home." I said, "You are?" I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I don't know, but I'm not going to stay here. You won't let me do what I want to do? I'm not staying." So strong, so independent, so wise at 5. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew he was leaving. And he packed a backpack to do it. He goes out the door. I was a young mother. I was in my 20s. And I'm like, whew, okay, college didn't prepare me for this. And mom or mama never shared a story about a child running away from home. So I had no lived experience to pull from. So I had to pull from that divine wisdom. And I said, "Okay, son, you be careful. When you get to where you're going, you let me know you're safe." It was hard. He goes out the door. We lived at the end of a street where the people next to us, it was a dead end. And so then we were there and people across the street. And we each had a couple acres. So it was a little ways before the next people. And then it became a subdivision. But we were like what was built first, you know. So we were in the woods and had this beautiful property. So I go all the way to my kitchen window, which is the furthest east in the house because the house faced north. And I watch him, and he's just walking up the road. He has a little Bible backpack, and I'm watching out the window so where he can't standing back from it, hoping he can't see I'm watching. Because I'm letting him go. He wants to go. That's what God put in my heart. Let him go. But I wasn't going to let him go too far. But I didn't tell him that. I'm standing peering out that window going, "Oh, Lord, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?" God give me strength and wisdom to know what to do as his mom right now. So he gets up to there's a little rise in the road, and then that's when it kind of becomes a more subdivision. And I'm thinking, "Oh, please don't let him get to where traffic, because I'm going to have to go out there. I'm going to have to go out there." And I can see another little one that's that independent right here with us today. But he gets up to that rise and he stopped. And I thought, okay. So he stopped and looks around. And I can just think what's going on in his own mind. He's going, "Where am I going? I don't know where to go." This is probably as far as he had been on his own to play with the little boy up the street named Hunter, because he was right across from Hunter's house. So that was probably the breadth and the depth of his knowledge of where he was to go. So he stands there, for a big long pause. And then he comes back, starts back, and I go, "All right." So I didn't go to the door or anything. He come walking in the door. I said, "What happened?" He said, "I'm staying." Okay. So he goes up, puts his Bible backpack down, comes back, and I said, would you like some Jell-O? I made some Jell-O. So he come back down and had a bowl of Jell-O. So a little bit later that day, I was unpacking his backpack that he had packed to go. 6 pair of underoos. I thought, all right, I'm a good mom. He knows the importance of clean underwear. Yeah, all right. And he came back. Whew. But, in times like that, when we face those challenges, because for a young mom with a baby and a toddler, that was a big challenge, and I didn't have any learned experience of how to handle that. I just had to turn it over to God and let God's wisdom guide me on what to do. And it was not to run after him and yell at him and tell him, you can't do that, you can't do that. I had to let him go. But then he came back, and he never ran away from home as a teenager. I innately tapped into that wisdom, that mind, body, and spirit to get me through. In our physical body, our judgment center is our solar plexus, our I am core. It's our body brain. They call it a body brain. As all of the 12 powers, wisdom functions in all 3 phases of our being, mind, body, and spirit. Our mental, our physical, and our spiritual being. And maybe you've heard it said, I know it in my gut. My gut's telling me that's not right. Those are the physical indicators from our judgment center, our physical judgment center in our solar plexus telling us, I got a gut feeling that's not right. Then that still small voice we hear, whether we hear it sitting on our shoulder or whether we hear it from our heart center, that's the spiritual indicator of our wisdom center, the spiritual indicator. The knowing in our DNA knowledge, we don't know why we know, we just know. That's the mental indicator of our judgment center. That's the God mind. And human judgment can be based on any of these or all 3 of them. In the physical, we can get caught up, though, in unloving, critical judgments, which can then manifest in our own self as physical ailments, like ulcers in our stomach, digestive issues. If you find yourself in that place, stop, take a breath, raise your vibration, and judge from your higher self, not through gossip or worldly standards and not through that physical center. Judge from the spiritual and the mental center. And judge only from the light within, the light of love, compassion, and kindness. Judge by your spiritual methods from divine insight and the pure potentiality of good and the Christ consciousness within. It is a practice of spiritual growth and personal growth, applying wisdom in your life daily. When we allow judgment or wisdom, using those words interchangeably, to flow from us as the inner illumination of spirit, we find ourselves in better health. Better health both physically and emotionally. As we allow the divine life force that is source energy to flow through our body brain, we awaken to a new world, and a new potentiality is directed from our higher self, our source, and that is wisdom. Although all of the 12 powers are important, the greatest are faith, wisdom, and love. They're the highest vibration. They're the highest frequency. Our life manifests in divine order as we develop and live in the energy of those 3 powers. Yet wisdom without love is cold. And love without wisdom can be impetuous and can be misguided. When we align these powerful vibrations within and find a balance and find the harmony present in the natural order, there is a great and tremendous effect on us. we can then resonate at our true frequency. We find our true north. And as a vibrational being, we come into alignment with Source. We shine as the light from within that illuminates the way. And that is wisdom. In that place, we are allowing wisdom and love, allowing the light of Spirit to shine through us, guiding our thoughts, our words, our action. Guard yourself from clutter and guard yourself from fear, false evidence appearing real. By maintaining a clear, strong connection to Source and the Christ consciousness that is within us. Now, here's your practical steps. I tell you, I like to provide a practical application for our spirituality. Your homework to develop this wisdom center, complete with affirmations. I'm taking a cue from Laura Ann. So the first step is to clear your mind from past clutter. Clear your mind, release the bad habits. Clear your aura. Clear your mind and your physical body regularly. And the affirmation that would go with that is, I joyously release false concepts of the past. I joyously release false concepts of the past. Then, once cleared, know that nature abhors a vacuum. So you got to put something in there, because once you clear out the false, once you clear out the bad, then something's going to jump right in there. So if you don't put it in there with intention, you might just pick up the guy at the grocery store that's just going through a divorce, is having all kinds of trouble in his life, and you're going to pick up that energy, and that energy is going to come in on you. You don't want that. So you want to put in your own energy, intentionally replacing the old thoughts and the patterns with new spiritual truths for you. And you can go ahead and use some of that God time I talked to you about a month ago, that 10%. When we tithe 10% of what we bring in financially to our spiritual community, we are supporting where we are spiritually fed. When we tithe 10% of time to ourself, that's your God time to spend in study, in meditation, or in prayer. That's 144 minutes a day. I know all of you do it. I know. In this busy world, all of you are taking time to do that. But make it a goal. Make it a goal. If you're not doing that now, make it a goal to get into that 144 minutes a day of tithed God time for yourself. And so the affirmation for that is that I acknowledge and accept new ideas of truth. I acknowledge and accept new ideas of truth. The third one is acknowledge the guidance you're receiving. Watch for the signs. And don't fall prey to that common human failing of allowing your truth to be a condemnation of someone else. That happens. That your truth becomes all the bad things you can say about somebody else. Your truth becomes the gossip. Your truth becomes the condemnation of something or someone else. Don't fall into that trap. Because we don't live in integrity when we thrive because someone else is lessened. Go higher. When others go low, you go high. And our affirmation for that is I enthusiastically expand my knowledge of the basic principles of truth. I enthusiastically expand my knowledge of the basic principles of truth. And number 4, develop insight to discern the guidance and receive those divine sparks of inspiration. Those divine sparks of inspiration come. You need to be ready to receive them, and then watch for the signs that is what it is for you to do. And the affirmation for that is, I see past and through appearances to clearly see the truth. I see past and through appearances to clearly see the truth. And the 5th one, Charles Fillmore says, I couldn't think of a better way to say it, so I'll quote him. When we awaken to the reality of our being, The light begins to break upon us from within, and we know the truth. It's a quickening that occurs. When we awaken to the reality of our being, the light begins to break upon us from within, not from without and shining on us. It breaks upon us from within and shines outward because we know the truth. You know your own truth. So the affirmation for that is, through the light of the Christ consciousness in me, I know the truth. Through the light that is the Christ consciousness within me, I know the truth. And the last one. We then not only have wisdom, we are wisdom. Jesus, the great way shower, said, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. And we are the light, and we know it. So shine. Just like the song said earlier. It was perfect. I thought, hey, I'm using that in my message. I am one with the all-knowing mind of Source. I am one with the all-knowing mind of Source. So the solar plexus is our wisdom center, our I am center. The solar plexus is just right there with the heart. Right here's the heart. Right here's the solar plexus. They're right there. Which brings us back to Charles Fillmore's conclusion. Which is greater, love or wisdom? It's a universal debate. It's a universal debate, and there are experts that have convincing arguments for both sides. From the biblical scholars to the metaphysicians to the pure no bones about it scientists, they all debate which is greater, love or wisdom. So I'm not going to say I know more than any of them. I'm going to say it's your choice. It's your choice which is greater for you. You have to answer that for yourself. Which is greater, love or wisdom? For me, love is the greatest force of all. That's what I choose. Love is the greatest force of all. It's the highest frequency. It's the highest vibration of all the emotions. I choose to practice love through wisdom, knowing there are no accidents. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you.